Pittsburgh Steelers fans, it is time once again for another episode of the Steelers Sunday Night Q&A. And I got to tell you, I'm really excited for this one. The draft is over. There's so much to talk about. You have so many things that you want to say. And this is kind of like a dream pairing for me because I've never gotten to do a one-on-one show with Kyle Chrise from What Yin's Talking About. And I bought a similar hat like that on January 1st, 1994 at Three River Stadium. And I had the same exact thing, but I attached a face mask to it. So it was great. And I had an opportunity to sell that at a Chargers game in 2005. And a guy said, I'll take that off your head for $100. And it was in San Diego. And I did not do it. And yeah, so.
And you didn't do it for $100.
Did not do it. So that very hat got me on a Super Bowl commercial with ABC back in the Monday Night Football days. So
you're the Hollywood one. I'm out here in LA, but you're the true Hollywood.
So first of all, have you been to what was it, Qualcomm or Jack Murphy back in the day? Have you ever been to that San Diego stadium?
Yeah, I went to the Mike Vick start. So that was how many? 4 years ago now? I can't even remember.
Gosh, that was 7. That was 15.
7 years ago. Gosh.
Yeah, I'm getting made fun of for my hair already. Yeah, I mean the haircut's coming on Thursday. It was a long weekend. Let's put it this way. And I'm not going to say there wasn't a nap today, but no. So that here's something really interesting. So this was 2005. And there was supposed to be a Monday Night Football game in San Diego in 2003, but you were dealing with mudslides at the time. So that ended up going to Arizona instead. And then in 2005, that was going to be the first Monday Night Football game in San Diego in 9 years. And it was great because there were so many Steeler fans everywhere. And we were on the visitor side, and we were like 9 rows up right behind the Steelers bench on the 50. That was in the StubHub days where you're like, all right, it's just one ticket. I was there with my best friend and like, let's do it. Let's just pay it. And so we went. It was a fun game. But to start out, so Schwarzenegger was the governor at the time, so he was going to be in the booth. And do you remember Monday Night Football, how they would do this little vignette at the beginning with, are you ready for some football? And the show and Nicolette Sheridan with a towel and all that kind of stuff. And they would do all this crazy stuff and
lots of ABC synergy. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So they had I don't know whether it was a drill sergeant, but somebody from the Navy, because that's a big military town. And they brought the girl out who was the PR director. And I don't know how old she was. Maybe not that old, maybe about mid to late 20s. She comes out and they gave us these little washcloths. They were white, sponsored by Diet Pepsi, and it said 100% chance of lightning. And they had they're like washcloths for us to wave. And so she comes out and says, all right, Drill Sergeant Steve is going to say this, and then are going to say, are you ready? And then you'll go, are you ready? And then we'll go into the Monday Night Football theme. And when you do that, you wave your white towels. And then, Steeler fans, that's a challenge. Challenge accepted. What do you think they did?
So I'm sure that when they cut to the camera, the Steeler fans had their terrible towels.
Well, before that, they just interrupted her. The camera wasn't even on. They just whipped out the towels. The "Here we go Steeler" chant came out. And they went, stop. It was about 75% Steeler fans. And the next thing you know, this poor woman said was, come on, guys, we're in San Diego. And you know what happens then? What do? We get louder.
San Diego, the Chargers organization has never learned their lesson, whether they're playing Renegade, during the game. I went to the Chargers game in LA this past season, and they were very conscious about not showing Steeler fans. It was very hard. It was a lot of very tight shots on the one Chargers fan.
One dude.
There's a Chargers fan right there,
And the guy in the Rey Mysterio mask.
Yeah.
Is that guy they keep showing. Yeah, that's really funny. So I'm there and I'm in the moment. I'm wearing my Tommy Maddox number 8 jersey. And so I decided, and I was a lot thinner back then than what I am now. So I had the eye black on, I had the same hat you're wearing, and I had the jersey on. I just whipped off the jersey. I'm shirtless. I'm just going crazy. Next thing you know, the guy comes over, the yellow shirt, says, "Sir, you have to put that shirt back on." I'm like, what's the deal in San Diego? You're not allowed to have your shirt off at a game?
You went full Big Al. Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, is that a role? You're a Californian now.
Yeah, in California, any guy that's under a 6 or below on the hotness scale, yeah, not allowed to take a shirt off.
Well, I thought I was higher in the hotness scale, Kyle. I mean, but they're all right. Thank you.
I don't know. Let the chat decide, right?
Yeah, it is their show. It's the Q&A. So I had the eye black on, and I had that hat, and I had the towel going, and I see the Monday Night Football was a female operator, and I see her just go like this to me. And so when she did that, I just went like this, and I started twirling the towel. And right after the Steelers won the AFC Championship game, I'm on my way out to work, watching Mike and Mike because I want to see everything I can see. And they're like, "We're going to have Bill Cowher on next." And so I'm like, all right, I'm not going to go to work yet. I'll stay around and hear this. Then I just hear the Monday Night Football theme. Dun, 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 dun. Are you
dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, are you the best fan in football? Are you this? When you hawk your wedding ring for tickets and they're showing all these crazy fans, next thing you know, you just see me going, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's me.
without any authorization of likeness or image. Where are the royalties?
None, and I cannot find that on YouTube anywhere. So I'm looking for it. If I could ever find that commercial, that is me on that commercial. So I'm very proud. That was a long time to explain that I have the same hat. So I do apologize.
That was all one story. Congratulations. I thought that was, I thought you were wrapping up about 4 times there.
I paint the picture, Kyle, but we had a lot to talk about. Schwarzenegger was there. There's a drill sergeant. Anyways, so this is your show. This is your first Sunday night Q&A. So, man, we're going to talk to them. Let them, live chat. Throw in the questions. No holds barred.
They're vicious already. I can't believe it. I thought draft day was like Steeler Christmas, where it's peace and love to all goodwill on men or on earth or something,
So I'm going to ask you. So we're going to kick this off. What is Kyle Chrise's vision from the weekend and the draft? What's your opinion?
I'm fired up. There was initial shock after that first round pick, where it was like, what's happening? But this, like I said, this is the time where all new draft picks are getting sized up for their yellow jackets, and hope springs eternal in Steeler youth. We'll see who makes the roster and who doesn't, who makes the 53, who makes the field. But right now, we've got, I'm giving it an A++ grade.
I love it. I had a lot of fun. And if you check out my show, Bad Language, tomorrow, that will be on the audio only side at noon, I'm going to talk about the fact that, don't grade the draft yet. And don't say this is what we should have done, because you don't know what they know. So I'm going to leave it at that. But Pedro, we're going to start with Pedro here. Pedro Almaguer Jr. So I take it Mason is out. Kyle, what do you think?
This seems to be the popular opinion right now. But I think that patience heads will prevail right now. We don't know what we have yet. We still don't know. No one's taken a snap anywhere. Let's wait until at least that first or second preseason game to see what we have. Mason could be out, but I think that the QB room is strong with Mitch, Mace, and Kenny. There's no bad reason to keep 3. I'm not saying let's have a 3-person QB competition for QB1. We saw how that went back in the Jim Miller era. But I think that all three deserve their place in the room there. They earned their contracts.
The Jim Miller era, he started that Jacksonville game in Jacksonville in 1996. That was his only start. Poor guy.
I think he was benched in the third quarter.
Yeah, he's like they were done with Jim Miller.
Mace does have hurt feelings, probably, but you know what? They told him ahead of time. We're going to add to the QB room. They told him that, and they should. If they had half a decent agent, they know that round one QB was in the cards. So they shouldn't have their feelings too hurt. Mason, yeah. He's bummed out, I'm sure. And hell, Mitch too. I mean, Mitch came in here a minute ago and was kind of, they gave him his crown. Here's your QB1 king, but not so fast,
Oh, that's a thing, because I am having trouble remembering what Tommy Maddox's outlook was when Ben Roethlisberger was drafted, but that was a different situation. He was the quarterback of a 5-11 season the year before. This is, my gosh, you bring in the number one free agent, and yes, he's the number one quarterback free agent. There's no arguing that, because he really was. He's not. They didn't acquire him in a trade. Now, the Russell Wilsons, of course, those guys, there's so many people that were highly sought after, but they had to be acquired in a trade. But when you're talking about unrestricted free agents, Mitch was the top of the heap. So not only did they do that, now they went and got who they believed to be the top quarterback in the draft. Now, one of the things that Dave Schofield, Jeff Hartman, and I have been talking about the whole weekend is we kind of love the fact that the Steelers took the first quarterback off the board because you knew who they wanted, and you don't feel like they were settling for a guy because their guy got picked, like the Artie Burns situation. What are your thoughts on that?
No, thank goodness this played out how it did, because we know who the Steelers QB1 was on that draft board, and they got their pick. There's no what could have been isms. There's no what about, all the Steelers truthers out there with their conspiracy theories. Whoa, we should have, could have, all that can be laid to rest. Steelers got the guy they wanted. They got the position they wanted. Everything played out in their favor. So the fans should, if we trust the process and our Hall of Fame GM and Hall of Fame head coach, then we should trust the process. That we should find comfort in the pick of Kenny Pickett. That's a long way to say great pick.
Well, I'm glad you like the pick. Now, Johnny Bravo asked this question, and now Johnny Bravo's been on a Shrek kick, asking questions about Shrek. Now he wants to know if I'm going to grow out my hair like Kenny or go bald like Shrek. Man, the hair's getting long. Gonna tell you, I am a mess. If you look at my chart, I'm sure my medical chart is not great, but I won one hereditary lottery, one genetic lottery, and it's the hair. I turned 50 this year. There's not a bald spot to be found. As you can see, I'm good. And it's getting a little long in the back, which I could go with a mullet, but I don't want to, I already had the greatest mullet ever in 1988. I don't want to really, I don't really want to denigrate that mullet. So I'm not.
You're not going back. You're not going to go back for Kenny's sake. I guess a good question is: will Kenny inspire a new generation of Steeler fan haircuts? Ben notoriously had some of the worst haircuts throughout his career. Thank goodness those didn't really take off here in Pittsburgh. But will the Pickett mullets come back? I don't know. I could see it being hot in Western Pennsylvania.
Is that some places I don't think the mullet ever went away. And I'm from Richland High School in Johnstown, and when I go back to Johnstown, I still see some really nice mullets.
The party never stopped in the back.
Oh yeah, it never does. And no, I had a good one back in the day, and then 1991 happened, and the 90210 craze, and I went with the Luke Perry sideburns. So There you go. And then I never really went back to the mullet. So
Sherry knows the mullet still lives. Yeah. If you go, the further you go down 51, the further south, there's more mullets.
That's awesome. Get those questions in. Next question does come from Sherry, and she wants to know, what about the Austin pick? Did we like the Calvin Austin III pick? Kyle.
I mean, yeah, on paper, I love it, right? The fastest guy in the world. I think there was some controversy even over the 40. What's the real 40? He's too fast to be registered by mere mortal devices. So that's a plus. But I remember the days of, everyone. I don't want to say the D word, Dree Archer, but hey, I'm ready to see what he does on the field. Two wide receivers early in the draft tells me that they're probably going to see more playing time than maybe some rookies in the past. So I'm excited for it. If this guy can show that kind of speed, on as we say on Sunday ball, or then I'm all for it.
Do you love this wide receiver room now?
My favorite quote on Austin was Mel Kiper, who said, "Man, I wish we could have." He's a Ravens fan. He said, "Man, I wish we could have kept this guy away from Pittsburgh." So I think that's pretty telling.
I love it. And there was
I was gonna say the wide receiver room is a bunch of characters, and who knows? It could be fun. I think there's some characters in there. I think Claypool is actually, might be the kind of the heart, the spiritual leader of that room right now. So I think that they're, if you loved the Juju era, you might not like the Claypool led era.
Well, I can tell you, Claypool's the mild one now, because
Yeah.
I saw on Twitter, man, you got a let's just put it this way, George Pickens. Man,
he's a character.
He's not afraid to just be out there. He is who he is, and he's not afraid to be him.
Yeah, this guy's a complete character. The video of him watching get selected on ESPN, where he has that full on hood on, which is about to become the hottest thing sold at Dick's Sporting Goods. And he's just staring at his television, watching himself get picked by himself, and he's got some family in the background cheering. But yeah, this guy is off the wall. I love it. Scrappy, we all saw how physical he is on the field. Did you see him go up against Michigan? Where does he kind of call it before the snap, where he's like, say less, and then he shoves down Lewis Sign over there on Michigan, and I'm just like, wow, this guy's calling his shots. So I don't know if they're going to love that kind of attitude, but they're certainly going to love that kind of heart.
Yeah, they definitely will. Now, speaking of Baltimore, you mentioned Mel Kiper Jr. I think Marlon Humphrey, when he saw that pick, he was like, oh, he had a tweet about, oh man, I don't want to see this guy twice a year.
Yeah, Baltimore everyone seems to say Baltimore had a good draft. Oh yeah, that was Georgia. Whatever. I saw something. It was either Michigan or Georgia. Thank you, Harley, for correcting me on that. But yeah, physical and fearless.
So let's see. Shane Giggle says, worst draft outside of wide receivers. Mitchell better than overrated Pickett, all because he is hometown. Okay.
These haters, of course, worst draft ever. But most researched pick ever, as far as Kenny Pickett goes, is what I look at it as. Most researched pick. They knew this guy personally. And does that mean that they're rooting for him? Maybe, but I just say most researched pick. Top to bottom, head above the neck, down to below the belt. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to see how they go ahead and integrate these guys. Are you wearing a 71 jersey?
Yeah, I got myself an Orpheus Roy from the first time around.
I love it. That is great, because you don't see much 71, and that's not a retired number. That is absolutely fantastic. I think he wore like 55 too, didn't he?
He came back the second time around and was in
93.
90 something. Yeah.
I think he wore 93 when he came back. Wow, an Orpheus Roy jersey. That is absolutely fantastic. Brian Brown asked, did the Steelers defense get any better? I'm not sure. They only had 2
Well,
picks.
yeah, I mean, come on. From defensive starters, we weren't going to draft. We weren't going to draft a starter unless we went safety in that second round. Unless the Steelers went safety in that second round, with a Brisker maybe or something like that. Maybe there was a potential starter, but otherwise, Steelers were filling in depth, and certainly the defense isn't maybe not any better yet on paper, but it was a pretty high threshold to get better than.
And they did make a move on defense. They did address the safety right after the draft. And that's Sean Manahan's question. What's everyone's thoughts now that we signed Kazee in free agency?
I kind of don't know what to think about this because it seems like he's the same kind of caliber of player as Edmonds. Is it? Are they setting up a camp battle there? I know that our experts there. Dave. I think Schofield said that Kazee is kind of a deep safety, or maybe it was Jeffrey Benedict. It was kind of a deep safety, and lets Terrell Edmonds kind of play closer in the box. I really don't know what to think about this. It feels like a depth piece that the Steelers were looking to add in the draft, but I don't know exactly how the depth chart. Well, I don't know. What do you think?
I'm not sure how it's going to shake out. If you go ahead and look at Dave Schofield's depth piece article from the website today, I'm not even sure where he put Kazee in there. I know he was working on that last night right after the draft. I cannot remember, but it's good to have pieces in there, and it's good to have. I mean, the safeties are a lot stronger than they were 2 weeks ago. Now that Edmonds is back in the mix, now we can just stop talking about the Honey Badger.
Yeah, right.
We really can. I mean, as fans, having Kazee in there. I mean, nobody's going to get rid of Mullet right now. Or Millette, I'm sorry. No one's going to get rid of him right now, and no one was excited about him last year. We just didn't know who he was.
I'm looking at the comments here. It's like Kazee can play slot. Kazee much better than Edmonds. But then, well, how come? He wasn't on anyone's radar really all through free agency. So, I don't know. I still think this is Edmonds' spot, a starting spot back there. And yeah, like you said, Arthur Millette. Self-proclaimed 0-star recruit. Maybe this is his battle, the camp battle, Kazee and Millette there for the slot.
And that also answers Arthur Morgan's question, which was, what do you think about the safety they signed today? George Teston asked, who has the best arm out of the QBs? I would think Pickett.
Well, some people were saying that Pickett is just Mitch 2.0 or something, not too but I don't remember the Steelers throwing a whole lot of 50-yard passes in the Matt Canada offense last year. So I think maybe what's more important is maybe that arm strength on those 15-yard outs or something, than, maybe a deep bomb, especially since, well, now that we've got these speedsters, maybe we are going to be back to Big Ben football. Let's air it out. We got Claypool, we got Speedy Gonzalez here. Let's do it. Let's play some backyard ball.
Monka S says, should the Steelers have drafted a rusher early in case Tuitt isn't back, gets cut? At some point, Steelers need to move on instead of waiting indefinitely in limbo. I think that's why you brought in DeMarvin.
Well, he's DeMarvin Leal is going to, I think, be, I don't know if this year is going to be ready to contribute in the way that you would think, I don't even think Tuitt did that first year. I think the thing to worry about Tuitt, all signs are pointing to, coming back. Is he in playing shape? I think that, it's been 2 years without football. So, as Colbert himself said, right now, it looks like Wormley is slated as starter. Maybe Tuitt is kind of your camp back up there. So I think the D-line depth is pretty good there. I think there might be a battle between Adams and Tyson in that spot, a camp battle maybe. They are all getting older. And we saw people like Trey Essex and a lot of the veterans, Brett Kiesel, they were calling for D-line depth to spell Cameron Hayward. Because I think Cam, he didn't want to play as many snaps as he had to this past season. I think he was looking to cut those down in 2021. So Steelers are gonna have to find a way to spell Cam, and maybe Tuitt maybe is the one spelling, at least in the first half of the season. I don't know. Who knows? We'll see how that depth chart plays out.
I think when you're talking about the defense, they just got deeper in a lot of ways. And I know they just brought 2 guys in, but Marvin Leal, he gives you some depth and a look into the future. And we talked about before this draft started, they don't have to be desperate for 2022 in this draft like you thought they were going to have to be in January. Now they have an opportunity to, grow some guys, and you still have a guy like Loudermilk.
Yeah, exactly. They liked him so much to draft up to get him. I mean, and he had to contribute a lot of snaps already as a rookie. That was the thing about this past year. For as bad as it might have been statistically in some ways, we sure got a lot of young guys, a lot of snaps, and people like Loudermilk, Dan Moore Jr., Kendrick Green. They got more snaps as rookies than maybe any rookie generation before them.
And you gotta love a guy like Leal with a chip on his shoulder, which he definitely has one. I love it. Nobody laughed at my joke in the Zoom. We had a Zoom meeting, so you might have not been there at that part, but I had a great Pulp Fiction moment when I heard DeMarvin Leal, because the first thing I thought of was, man, accidentally shot Marvin in the face. So, and then I'm thinking Leal with cheese. Because they're like, is it DeMarvin Leal? What's his name? It's like Leal. And I'm thinking Leal with cheese. So you've got to give me some Pulp Fiction love on that, right?
That should be the shirt, I think. I think that's the T-shirt, the Leal with cheese. And it should be, it should be Samuel L. Jackson. Does he take a bite? I don't think they actually have one in the scene. They're just talking about it.
No, but he takes the bite, and when the Big Kahuna burger, he takes a bite of that and goes, that's a tasty burger. Do you mind if I have a sip of your drink? And check out the big brain on Brad.
Can we talk about my favorite pick before I know it's the chat show, but can we talk about my favorite pick before we have to go? And Sherry Richards brings it up there from the linebacker from Ole Miss in the 7th round, Robinson. I just love the story. Mark Robinson transferred in 3 transfers. Like, the one school stopped giving out football scholarships, so he transferred to another school. And then that school, COVID shut down the school, so he walked on to Ole Miss. And then they were like, well, we don't want you to play running back, switch to linebacker. And then he still got drafted. Can you imagine that phone call? I hope it was Coach T, but someone from the Steelers called him up. And that had to be a special moment. I hope they get to ask Mark Robinson about that. I don't expect him to be on the field anytime soon. Look, if Buddy Johnson couldn't get on the field, I'm not expecting Mark Robinson to. But I hope he can stay on the practice squad for a few seasons and stick it out, because he is, here's Travis comparing him to Vince Williams. He certainly seems to have the heart of Vince Williams. I remember when Vince Williams was named full-time starter, in the preseason, and people were kind of shaking their heads, and he came out with that hype tape, and he got quicker. You don't see too many men get quicker at 26 than they were at 21. But I hope that Mark Robinson has those Vince Williams vibes.
And he was a late pick, probably one of the better picks in that 2013 draft. It's a bad draft for every NFL team, 2013.
And Mark Robinson, no one knows who he is. No one had a draft profile on him. You couldn't Google him. Google didn't know. Ole Miss, I think they had to call up the coach. Is this guy on the team? Yeah, I love it. No one knew who he was.
But 93 tackles.
Yeah.
It comes in, becomes a linebacker, 93 tackles in the SEC. That's not bad. Not bad at all. Brian Brown, how many undrafted players will get invited to Steelers training camp? Looks like about 10 right now. But then they do that thing where they'll do some invites to the rookie mini camp. That's where we got Tuzar Skipper on the Steelers. That's where we got a Steeler named Duck Hodges. So there you go.
Yeah. there'll be one or two guys that get the invite from that, mini camp. I don't know anything about them. As far as the undrafted, it seems they really have some interest in that running back, enough to give him the guaranteed money. So maybe that's where I see people. People are asking, what are we going to do about the Najee in the depth chart there? Maybe they got two back on those undrafted guys that maybe they're looking there to at least do camp battle. I don't know what the running back room is currently. I don't know who's under contract. Is Benny under contract? I don't know what's going on.
Benny Snell is still under contract, and because he was a 2018. Yeah. 18, I believe Benny is still under contract. Did he come in 18 or 19? He came in 19. So I
can't even remember now. The good thing about the COVID era with these rule changes is the practice squad is opened up to a lot more people. So we can stash, some more of these guys. I really like that. Although, as people were saying in the chat, people are going to be, who's going to be the next Tujar skipper, nabbed out of the practice squad, or Roche. Yeah, right. Hey, I guess that's the chance you take. But
absolutely,
yeah.
And that the practice squad's making it easier for not just teams, but giving guys an extra chance. Rumor has it that the Steelers are looking at putting Greg Benevent on the practice squad this year too. Your partner on what Ian's talking about.
He would be a free safety. You could put him out there. He'd be good at directing traffic. He'd be like, over there, the ball's over there. Go ahead.
Sean Manahan wants to know, is there a spot for Kendrick Green on this depth chart for O-line?
Look, I don't think the fans are going to like this at all, but Kendrick Green is your reigning starter. So I think you have to defer to him at least in camp battle. I think he is your presumed starter. And look, everything they told him going into the offseason was, we're going to keep you at center. We're not going to move you to guard. So I think this battle coming into camp is going to be real interesting. It looks like you've got like 3 or 4 dogs and two or 3 bones, as the analogy goes. So there's enough for everyone to eat. Kendrick Green's going to have to keep his spot, but I think going into camp, he is the presumed starter. He's got the snaps. He's got the snaps there.
4TL Music Group, my man 4TL. I'm rooting for my man LeGlue and Dotson this year. And does Banner come back close to camp for vet minimum? That's an interesting thing. What about Banner if he's healthy? You bring him in. He's probably going to want to come in, be anywhere on the cheap, just to get a spot.
Offensive tackle seems to be one of the spots that not that the Steelers neglected or ignored, but could have addressed and didn't in the draft. So yeah, why not bring back Banner on the cheap? It's one of those August signings. When people start getting hurt across the league in camp, we see a lot more action as far as veteran goes. But LeGlue is in the mix. I hope he earns his hat. He certainly earned his roster spot last season. And Dotson, of course, we don't, it's not exactly sure what is up for Dotson. I think all 5 of these spots, maybe not maybe the tackles are the most secure, and everything else could be up for grabs. And as far as the third tackle, is it Haig currently? So yeah, maybe Banner is an upgrade there.
You never know. I just hope LeGlue sticks.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to do that joke. I apologize. What about Buddy Johnson?
Well, he didn't see the field, so that it's going to be a challenge. That inside linebacker room is packed right now, with a lot of special teamers too, with Buddy and Marcus Allen and who else am I thinking? UG3 is in there, and not to don't forget the starters, Miles Jack and Bush and Spillane is still in there. There's a lot of players for not a lot of positions. I don't know exactly how this linebackers room are going to play out. What do they usually keep 10 in total? Does that sound right? Something like 9 or 10?
It's usually 4 and 5, but it just depends what you're doing with the other stables there.
So there's a lot of players and certainly not a lot of starting snaps. Those seem to be locked up in the form of Miles Jack and Devin Bush, you would think, Spillane, and then you got 3 special teamers and Buddy. So I don't know. I guess it really depends on that second-year jump that Coach T always talks about.
But hey, what special teams will make you? And we
Yeah.
saw that with James Harrison. What he did on special teams gave him every opportunity. I want a one-word answer on this next one. It's Johnny Bravo again. And, I'm a big Pens fan. Are the Penguins winning the Stanley Cup?
No.
I don't think they get out of the first round, and it hurts me to say, but I hope I'm wrong.
I hope so, yeah.
How do you think, this is a good one, how do you think the Steelers will use Cam Sutton in the slot or one of the outside spots?
That it seems like a lot of fans are down on Cam Sutton, but yeah, I think he could be an outside guy with Witherspoon, and we still, we we don't know what exactly we have with the new corner. I would think that, again, because he is the incumbent, that Cam Sutton is your, camp starter, de facto roster starter. Does he play the slot? Everything I seem to hear, I'm not an expert on this like Jeffrey Benedict or something like that, but everything I seem to hear is that Sutton can't play the slot. So, I don't know what the deal is there. I'm not the expert on that.
Sherry Richards thinks Chris Steele is a steal at cornerback. What do you think? Don't know much about Chris, but I like the idea of him.
There's, again, that's another room that's starting to get crowded because you also got James Pierre and Justin Lane. So, someone's not gonna make the roster. And I guess that will tell us, most. We'll find out more. We'll find out more in camp. Stay tuned.
Monka asked, do the Steelers need to sign another veteran wide receiver? One injury to Deontay Johnson or Claypool, and then that wide receiver room is looking really weak, inexperienced. I think that Boykin and Anthony Miller are there for Kyle.
Yeah, I think Miller is probably higher on the coach's depth chart than the fans. And as far as he's put up a resume, he's got the tape. Boykin, I don't know. I think he's kind of special teams only. But then again, I thought that about Hayward Bay, and there's times when he had to put his hat on, And if you make that wide receiver room, I guess you're gonna have to line up at some point during the season.
Lloyd Lasky wants to know how many vet free agents are out there regarding DBs. I don't think there's too many, but yeah, I think.
I think Mr. Joe Hayden, I'd bring him back for the above the neck. Everyone says, why bring Joe Hayden back? Just for the above the neck. It's a young group. It's a young team in general, and the more leaders, the better.
If he goes into June or July and no one's sniffing at him, and you go say, hey, Joe, vet minimum, what do you think? You want to stay in Pittsburgh? You want to come in for a year and maybe you could turn it into something else? Why not?
It's at this point, it's going to be about a passion to play, because it's not about the money. If you're using that as a as like a chip of respect, a contract, then he may not come back to Pittsburgh. But if he still has the heart to play, then the only team you're going to want to play for is Pittsburgh. You're not going to want to try to start all over again in Cincinnati or something. So I could see it in the cards if his heart is in the game.
All right, so this is we're getting ready to wrap things up real quick, but there's a few that I want to bring in here, and man, I lost the one that I thought it was really good, so I'm just gonna say it. Oh, here it is, Arthur Morgan. We're gonna find out this at 4 p.m. tomorrow. Are they picking up Bush's fifth year?
Apparently not, but as we saw with the Edmonds negotiations, that doesn't rule them out for the future. But if they did sign him and said, hey, we just got to because we don't want to take a chance on what could be without him, I'd be fine for that too. I'm fine with that.
So I'm going to do some production for you, some pre-production for what Ian's talking about. Vinny Vidi Vici was added today when somebody was asking about Bush, and he's like, yes, they need to pick that up, basically. Yeah. I can't remember, but it was very pro-Bush. Vinny, not afraid to. That's one guy that's not afraid to say his opinion. Russ, interesting that Pickett is already getting number 8 when that's Carl Joseph's number. Carl Joseph wasn't around as much to have that number, and you have to assign those number 1 picks right away numbers so that the league can start selling those jerseys. Carl Joseph will be lucky to make the team.
Let's hope that, Kevin Colbert still has Carl Joseph's number on his phone. Yeah.
So, I mean, and that's not a slight, but some guys take priority. Now, I have a feeling that they throw money, like Pickett will throw some money his way, like, thanks for the jersey. I know you had it. They do stuff like that. I still like Green, says Lasky at Lloyd Lasky, excuse me. At worst, he'll provide depth on IOL. He could win a starting guard job. Any thoughts? We already talked
100%.
About
100%. That's spot on. Best take of the night. 100%. It's a win-win situation.
Yeah, the thing about, we don't know their plans and we don't know what they're promising, but I do know one thing, that we love players and hate players in a different way that the Steelers love and dislike players. They know what they love and they see the stuff up close every single day. So what we think that they want, like when for months we were talking about how much they want Tyler Linderbaum. No. And we said it first. I mean, a few of us said it first. They don't want Tyler Linderbaum that bad because they've already promised. They've said nothing about moving him to guard to him in his exit interview, according to Kendrick Green. So just interesting stuff.
They went through the trenches this past year with that O-line. And now it's like a deeper brotherhood. It reminds me of like the movie 1917. It's like, after we went through that, now you want to break us up? Like, no, they're going to stay together for a while. This line.
I did not see where Isaiah Palamoa went. That's Bert Mackey's question.
It was in the Slack chat. He did somewhere. He did picks. It's in our Slack chat.
I want to make a comment on that. There was no way he was signing with the Steelers as an undrafted free agent. The only reason he would have been coming on to Pittsburgh is if they drafted him. Keep in mind that everybody thinks that just because his uncle or his cousin, I can't remember what Troy is to him. I think it's an uncle. But just because he was there doesn't mean that he's going to come on too. And the thing is, Troy's still not completely over the way they treated him on the way out. It's getting better, but that doesn't mean that you're just going to absolutely go there. I will say this right now. The last thing I'm going to say here, I want to bring this comment up. Ron Chess, good friend of the show. Bryan, inside linebacker, 7th round, I think is Brian Flores' project. Man, you've got to be excited about anybody with Brian Flores, because all these questions about, hey, where's Cam going to play? Cam Sutton. What are they going to do with these guys? Are they going to move guys around? Man, he's a Mr. Wizard, Kyle. I think Brian Flores being in there, he is going to get into the lab and he's going to come up with some stuff that we haven't seen before.
It was nice to see him come out for the press conference, for that pick. It showed that, that he is, because it's still kind of unclear, what exactly is the division of labor, but, he's going to be in there with those linebackers. And, hey, maybe it's the new, could it be the return of the LeBeau type of era defense? That seems to be what we're saying, with this quarterback room of Mitch or Mace or Kenny, is that we're going to depend on our defense to shut it down like we've done in the dynasties of past, and have an offense that can get the job done. We're not going to be putting up Kurt Warner numbers this year on offense. I'm not expecting that, but with this defense, special things could be happening.
Absolutely. And take a look at the stats for 2004, Ben's rookie year. They were pedestrian. His stats were not great because they protected him. They had a great defense, and they had a running back tandem, actually, that could go ahead and move the ball. And they were able to let him settle in, and the next year started airing it out. So I'm really not too concerned if Kenny Pickett even starts this year and doesn't have amazing numbers, because that's learning on the job. But what you do want to see from a guy like him is if he could have the type of wins, the type of record that Ben Roethlisberger had, then you're in pretty good shape.
The most stable franchise, the most tenured coach. It's a perfect situation for Kenny, and I'm looking at it as the rebuild is over. I'm looking at it as we're just in the mix with all these other teams. Lamar, who cares? Deshaun Watson, this team's ready to mix it up.
Yeah, you have your guys. You don't have to. There's no guessing. There's second guessing, but there's no guessing right now. With that being said, the podcast producer is going to send me some emails and yell at me for going way over time, but I know him. I've seen him naked in the mirror because it's me. So I think I'll have some words for him. But with that, Kyle, plug what you've got going on.
This Thursday on What Chin's Talking About, we have the results of Mock the Mock all off season. We've been tallying, over 270 mock drafts, and we're going to finally tell you who is mockable and who is unmockable as far as deserving your mock draft attention.
I love it. I tune in as always. You should too, and tune into BTSC for all of your Pittsburgh Steeler needs. Man, you know how many shows we ran this weekend? It was just incredible. We ran so many. We had a great, my gosh, we broke a download record on Friday by 6,500 downloads. So that was our best download day ever, and it wasn't in season. And we usually do so much better in season. So, we are here for you with every pick. You got to hear what different members of BTSC were saying about it. And we had all of the news first. We had Dave after every single draft pick. And if you haven't had a chance to hear the roundtables, or if you haven't had a chance to hear the breaking news stories, when those started, they're all on the audio platform, wherever you download your favorite podcast. You can just go ahead and type in BTSC and you should be good to go. So, Kyle, I appreciate you.
Thank you. So I appreciate you.
Orpheus Roy jersey. That just made my day. I'm wearing Dermonti today.
Okay.
But I mean, that's a Hall of Famer. Orpheus Roy, that's some good stuff. I'm a big fan of that. That's awesome. So for Kyle, my name is Bryan Anthony Davis. To quote my hero, Casey Kasem, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the hypocycloids. We'll see you next week. Take it easy.